Hi. So, I was pretty good about not watching Twin Flame videos for about the last, I want to say like 7 months. But I've recently kind of been binging on them. I've watched basically every good video I could find. And I just thought I'd kind of tell my story, you know? I didn't see too many videos where people told about I guess, the glimpse of heaven, you know, like how really nice it is to meet someone like that. And it is, I guess, personal, but I don't feel that shy about sharing it. I think they might like to hear it. So here goes. Um, I come from a very like traditional Vedic tradition, so I'm going to start with a prayer just to be sure. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So yeah, first a little background about me. I I was atheist growing up. I really had no interest in spirituality, aside from ethics and questions of philosophy. I was lazy, watched a lot of video games, played a lot of video games, watched a lot of TV and movies, played some card games. I really wasn't, at least in behavior, that good of a person. I think I was happy. I like to learn, but nothing like, not a person you maybe would single out to like have this experience. So yeah, I decided when I went to college, I went to Cornell in the United States, that I really had to shape up. Life was starting. It's like adult life is starting, so I better get my act together. So I got physically disciplined, started running 6 miles a day, which I could really use to do right now, actually. Um, I started eating better, and when I went to school, I actually did all the homework and got a good GPA my first semester, like a 4.0, and, you know, kept a really balanced life, except for one thing, and that was I was very, like, socially a bit awkward and shy. So, in order to um, overcome that, I joined a fraternity. Maybe not the best idea in retrospect, maybe not the best place to like change that, but I think my intention protected me and it did work. And then in my, what was it, sophomore year, I was the president of that fraternity, and I was wondering how I could make all the fraternity brothers like do stuff, clean the house, volunteer, behave in any orderly fashion, and I was having a lot of trouble with it. So, holding this question, how can I merge my ideals with my behavior? I ran into a spiritual teacher and went to his talk uh, by accident, actually. And that meeting and the subsequent breathing and meditation course I took sort of launched like a whole exploration into my inner self, which went really, really well for about the first year. I was opening up really fast, and the uh, the teachings were really suited to my temperament. You know, just intellectual enough, and just heart oriented enough, and just action oriented enough. Like it fit me, and I think I made good progress that first year. But as I think naturally happens for people on a classical, like, enlightened teachers path, is you get kind of crazy about it. It becomes your whole life. How can I get enlightened? How can I like learn more and serve more and love more? Even though effort is kind of, as we know, kind of opposite to love. And it came to a head in about November. I was behind in my schoolwork. I was stressed out and anxious about how I would get passing grades. And yeah, my whole attention was going into this growth thing. So I did pretty much the last thing you would think to do at that time. Is in the midst of all this pressure, I went to another meditation course. And it was powerful enough that I came home calm. I studied well. I wrote a 30-page research paper without doing any research. And I ended up getting decent grades. And my quest was still on. Oh, and I forgot to mention one thing. I read a phenomenal book that basically just deeply relaxed my mind about this feverish grasping for enlightenment. And the relaxation wasn't complete, but it started to happen at that time. Like the seeking started to die down. But I still hadn't given up the search just yet. I wanted enlightenment. So I went to India for a 2-week meditation and service course with 90 other international students and 300 people from India, young people. And it was wonderful. There were emotional lows because a lot of stuff was coming up. And there were moments of bliss. And if you look at pictures from that trip, everybody looks really happy. And I met someone there that I hardly noticed. I don't even think I noticed her at all, really. I spoke with her briefly, but I don't remember. On coming back, I don't really remember her. I was in another relationship at the time. It was really bad. We just weren't a good fit for each other. And like I said, I was so focused on knowledge that I didn't think too much about a relationship while I was there. My mind wasn't even in a receptive mode for that kind of thing. And honestly, I was so fed up with losing my freedom from the last relationship in general that I was ready to just become a monk. Devote life to service and growth and have some adventures. And I was excited about that. I didn't really know whether I'd be qualified for it or not, but that was what I wanted. But I will say, though, that there was a part of me that still wondered, what a really fulfilling relationship would be like. I still wanted it, but I didn't want it at the same time, if that makes any sense. So I come home, and full of energy from that trip, I'm basically on a different track than I was before I came. A lot of unnecessary stuff in my life fell away. I started having a lot of different openings, and a lot of my habits improved. With studying and, how to manage myself in general. I started feeling very grateful, very happy. Things were just going really well. And, yeah. And I guess I started to do more service, but more from a more authentic place. Not necessarily feverish or rushed, just because I felt really fulfilled in sharing what I had gotten with other people. And yeah, things were just really good in my world. That was probably the best time in my life, even up to date. So, you can't really compare. They were different. It was a really good time, though. I went to our retreat center with a few of my friends from the local town and college to see our spiritual teacher. Not just kind of on a lark, it's just for fun. Weekend trip. And, there's a tradition when somebody has a birthday, they come to the front and they're given a garland. It's just a little, make it more friendly and a little more relaxed environment. The spiritual teacher does that. I'm trying to be very non-specific here if you can't tell. I don't want to give any details away. Anyway, usually when the teacher is there, all the eyes are on him. And because he's very charming and, he's very charismatic and funny and the knowledge is profound and He knows how to handle every situation with a lot of tact. So people really like him. Go figure, right? But when one of these people was called up for a birthday, my eyes just unconsciously shot straight there to this person. And yeah, it was what I always tell people, it was like an explosion of light had just happened right around her face. It wasn't actual light, like I didn't see anything, but it was just like it really drew my attention. And I made sure to, after the meeting was finished, the satsang, I went and said hi to her. I just, and I said hi to a couple other people from our trip that I saw there in about the same way. Very authentic, very heart-centered. Hey, how are you doing? Not like a casual, hey, how are you? But a very because after going through something like that transformational with other people, I think as anyone who's been on like a transformational course can report, you feel very connected to the people you went through the experience with. But there was something a little special about this person that I hadn't noticed before. I said hi, we exchanged maybe 10 words, and I didn't think too much of it, just went back home. But maybe that night, or maybe a couple nights later, I was on Facebook wasting time, and I was looking through pictures from our India trip. And like I said, I didn't realize how happy we all were when we were there. But looking at the pictures on Facebook, I realized, wow, we were really flying high. This was nice. But I noticed one picture of this girl wearing, I think I'm wearing it right now. I'm not. Wearing these special beads around her neck and a black shirt. I don't know if you can see him. And having kind of a vacant, blank expression. So nothing that you would really look twice at. Not like an extremely happy expression or like coy or beautiful or anything like that. And honestly, and I still tell people this to this day, is I don't think she's really that pretty. It's nothing physical about her that I'm really that attracted to. But something about that picture triggered this thought in me that I couldn't explain. I just thought, and I don't say I knew it, but I just thought, that's my soulmate. And I didn't know what a twin flame was at the time, and I actually didn't know for 5 years after, or 4 years after. But I just knew at that point, I'm going to marry this person. And honestly, I was a little thrown off by that, because I wasn't one that was prone to big intuitive leaps. I think in the New Age community, people trust their spirit guides and they trust their intuition a lot more than I had up to that point. Because I was very intellectual, very much focused on the knowledge and common sense and, traditional, I guess you call it 3D paradigms. I was like a very normal guy by all standards. So when I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't prone to flights of fancy and, I don't know. I'm not disparaging those things. I think those things are great. I just wasn't used to that at that point. So, I was kind of like, what? What's this? I didn't know. But, no harm. So I emailed our retreat coordinator the next day for her phone number and contact info, and I gave her a call. Lo and behold, she doesn't answer. It's a voicemail. And I'm kind of like, well, I guess I kind of intuitively took it as a sign. Oh, I guess it's not meant to be. So I just kind of dropped it for a couple months. So more unfoldings happen in that time, like very spiritual experiences and more happiness and gratitude and love and generally things going my way, synchronicities and all that. And I'm starting to trust myself a lot more in, I guess, those intuitive realms. So, this was actually near finals. I decided to, at the last minute, skip studying for finals, take a trip to Washington, D.C. to take an advanced meditation course near my teacher's birthday. And I invited my mother and my two siblings to come with me. Totally last minute, it must have been 4 in the morning. I took a bus and I was just like pulled to it. And honestly, I was thinking of starting a company at that time. So I really wasn't wanting to finish school. I wanted to kind of like have an excuse not to go back because I was really feeling it was kind of a drain at that point. So I go there, and very near the beginning, there's like this big lobby floor. It was huge. It was like a big like Hilton or Hyatt, one of those very fancy hotels. And in the big cities, you know how they're really big. So on the lobby floor, there was a huge opening in the floor that led down to a basement. And from the basement to the lobby, there was a giant escalator. So I was looking at the back of this escalator from the lobby floor, and I noticed a figure standing at the bottom. And this is really far away. This might be like 500 feet away or 300 feet away or whatever. And I was like, that's her. And I just know. I wasn't really like trying to meet her there. I didn't think she would be there. I just noticed that it's her. And I grab my mom and we walk over to the top of the escalator. And it is her. So we just kind of say hi and introduce our mothers and chat a little. And one thing I remember from this course is that I was really amazed and impressed with something she said to me, which was, you know, in my spiritual movement, a lot of people are vegetarian, if not most people are vegetarian, especially if they've been around a while. But a lot of people do it out of like, maybe with not independent thinking or not authenticity. They just do it because it's kind of cool or expected. 1 second. But she said to me, for our teacher's birthday, she was giving up meat. And this is one of her traits, I think. It just struck me as so sincere. And like a proper, authentic way of being devoted. And I don't know if I registered it consciously at that point, but I must have at least somewhere thought, wow, I'd really like a wife that was that devoted. And hopefully my wife would like the same from me, because I think it's a good quality in people in general. So, we spoke some. It was nothing like amazing, earth-shaking. But I started to suspect that that intuition I'd had in February, was maybe real. It was substantive. So, I went back to college. Didn't even really try in my finals, because it's not what I wanted. Maybe that wasn't wise, I don't really know. But I was feeling so good and having so much synchronicity that I thought I could really accomplish whatever I wanted, and school would be a burden to me. Might as well just pull a Steve Jobs and, do something big. So I emailed around that time all the people that were in the United States from my India trip and asked them if they'd like to take a 2 or 3 week, can't remember, vegetarian healthy cooking course with me and then start my restaurant. It's kind of like a bit of a big thing to ask from people, to commit a few $100s in 2 weeks and not work and start a restaurant with somebody you barely know. But I wasn't thinking too hard. I was basically just flowing. But I got exactly one response, which was from the girl. And I didn't really... No, at this point I'm really starting to get there's something here. And, after school, my parents still haven't figured out that I didn't do very well in my finals. I go and spend a week with my dad, who doesn't live with me. He's in Florida. And we have the best time I've ever had with him. We've never been close, really. I've only visited him maybe twice or thrice a year, and I don't know. I guess we never really got along as well as we could have, but this week we got along great. And then I took another yoga course in California with the rest of my family that live with me. Had a great time there too. And I'm really just coming into my own and starting to trust myself so much that I'm kind of just, almost a little crazy. When you trust your intuition that much, you can really do things which don't make any sense. And that can be a great thing. Maybe it needs to be tempered, but it can be a great thing when you're really flowing and going with the universe where it wants to take you. So then I go to the retreat center again that I was at in February to take a 10-day silence retreat, which I've been looking forward to for a long time because those things can make you really happy. You can just come out of them feeling really, really good. So I go, and I actually remember this was really funny. Maybe it's not relevant, but it's funny. I call the lady who works at the retreat center and ask him, what does the guy who's picking me up look like? And she said, short, fat, and bald. So, that was totally irrelevant. But it was funny. I go for the course, and a strange thing happens. First of all, I'm really, really happy at this point. Not wanting anything, really starting to feel so much love for everybody. And, previously I've been very sincere whenever I take a course like this, and I follow all the instructions, and I really want to get the most out of it, and, I try to be a good little boy. But this time, I'm just feeling so good that the course feels like it's almost unnecessary, if not totally unnecessary. When I go into meditation, the experience is just like my normal experience in waking state. Instead of doing the required service work that the course gives you to make you stay active, I just basically play around and talk to people in silence and almost make fun of the whole thing to lighten people up. And I sneak into the retreat center at night and watch videos of my teacher, I guess, in a lot of devotion, and talk to this girl on Skype. And, so I asked her for her, and this is where I guess I really took a while to get to the actual part of it that you're probably waiting for. Sorry about that. But, here goes. So I asked her for her address, and under the pretense of saying I was going to send her a gift. Now, I wasn't lying, but the gift was going to be me, so on the third day of the 10-day course, I decide to leave. And as I'm leaving, somebody convinces me, oh, what are you doing? It's just some girl. How can you do that? This is way more important. And I'm like, oh, okay, sure. On the fourth day, or on the third night, I watch a video of my teacher who says that the purpose of all these practices is to awaken the love in your heart. So they're like a boat. They're not like the goal. And I'm like, I'm already feeling this. Why should I even do anymore? At least for now. So on the fourth day, I try to leave. And then I talk to the retreat teacher. And he tells me, man, I've wanted to leave so many courses. You have to be committed. And I go, okay, that's good reasoning. So we have a battle of the head and the heart here. And on the fifth day, I actually talk to the monk who runs the place. And he tells me, go on your adventure. And that's all I needed. He might have told me that, honestly, because he wasn't going to convince me to not go. He might have just been like, all right, this guy's going to do it. So I might as well tell him so he doesn't feel bad about it. But anyway, I left. And I got some immediate confirmation, because I was on the bus between the retreat center and the city where I knew the girl was staying. And I just started to fall I was feeling love for everybody before, but now it was getting overpowering. Like all the people on the bus, like in whatever shape, age, or size they were, I was like, hey, I really love you and I wish you the best. Like, and not at a mental level, like at an emotional level, or even at a being level. If that makes any sense, I don't even know if that makes sense to me. But like it was just it's hard to describe. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know if I'd felt like that before that. You know, really that much love for people. But anyway, I I don't have much cash on me, but in kind of in line with everything going my way in that time, the cab driver let me go only paying like maybe 75% of the bill, and I show up at the address that the girl had given me in this town in Ottawa. So she's staying with a friend and her mother. This is going to get confusing. The girl was taking a summer internship in biochemistry in like before her last year of school. And she was staying with a friend, so she didn't have to pay for an apartment. She was just paying a little rent there, you know, just a friend. So anyway, I show up at the door and I go, hey, is blank, I'm not going to say her name, is I called her by her proper ethnic name. And they were like, who's that? And I was like, oh, shit. Man, did I just show up with no money at the wrong address? And then I have a flash. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. And I call her by her Americanized name. And they go, oh, yeah, she's here. So they bring her up from downstairs. And I'm a little nervous at this point. I'm like, is she going to respond badly? I just showed up at someone's house without even calling. I wanted to be sweet, you know, so I just did it. But to my relief, the first thing she said was, oh, I'm so glad you came. Like, I'm not doing it right. She goes, I can't really act it out. But it was like real joy that I came. So the first thing is we take her friend's dog out for a walk. I try to teach her how to throw a frisbee, which does not go well. She's terrible at it. And it just feels so natural. I mean, I don't have a whole lot of relationship experience. So I don't know what a good relationship feels like at that point, and I still don't, besides this one. But it just felt so easy. Easier than I've felt with any person ever. You know? I don't know. There's always been, like, between me and the other person I'm with, there's always, like, a layer of thoughts or maybe, you know, judgments or even maybe negative intentions, either on their side or on my side or on both. But here it was just easy. There was nothing like that. Or maybe a gap in communication, or our natures not matching, you know, or just something that prevented the effortlessness from being there. And that was just gone. So we came inside to her little basement, and we talked for a little while. And then, you know, I wanted to kiss her. Partially because I wanted to kiss her, but mostly because I wanted to just let her know that I'm not just here as a friend. You know, I'm here because I like you. So I said, hey, let's dress up. Let's go out. Not exactly the most, quote, spiritual thing to do. Go out dancing in a bar. But, you know, it's okay. And then we both dress up. I brought a nice blazer. And I said, I have your gift for you if you close your eyes. And I kissed her. And I guess she was kind of expecting it. So she goes, okay. And then I said, you know, there's no point in going out. So we just sort of awkwardly watched a movie. And talked, mostly. Didn't really pay that much attention to the movie. And we stayed up till about 3 just talking. You know? Again, I think when I say the conversation was effortless, a lot of people can probably relate to that. But maybe not this level of effortlessness. Hard for me to judge. I've not been in other people's shoes. Maybe they have experienced that. But I had never experienced it. So, The next morning we get up, we go for a walk around Ottawa, which is a beautiful city. You know, it's like a really nice mix of nature and like manicured buildings. And I'd never been one to like walk around cities or, you know, really waste time or amble. I was kind of a predictive, like, you know, good scientific boy. But it was really fun. Just being with her was really nice. And at that point, I'm kind of like very spontaneous and free and happy and up for anything. So I'm like, hey, let's go to New York. You know, New York's the place to go, right? There's like culture and everything. So I say, let's go. And it doesn't take much to convince her. We quickly hop on a cab, barely catch the bus, and we're on our way to New York. It's a long bus ride. You know, if you don't know someone, it's easy to maybe get bored of them. And I think if you have like the like pretense of like being physically attracted to each other, maybe you could find something to talk about. But if you're really being honest with yourself, a part of you is really bored and not pure and not authentic, and you know. But for us, there was nothing like that. We were just. The conversation was at once like intimate and personal and casual, but on another level, like very deep and profound and, you know, personal. You know, it's like speaking your heart to someone that really gets you. You don't want to speak your heart to someone that doesn't get you, because it's like, it hurts almost. It's like, you don't want to expose your most vulnerable parts to someone who's going to like stab them, right? But I think with a twin, it's like, you know, they're almost expecting to hear what you're going to say because they almost already know you. And they're not really surprised, and they have enough understanding to like, they're at your level. You know, it's not like you're going to say something that's above their head. They get it. So like I said, I keep saying effortless. There's an Indian movie that's probably my favorite Indian movie called Tal. And there's a song in that movie called Tal Se Tal Mila, which I'm not good at the pronunciation. But it means rhythm has found rhythm. So I think we each have a rhythm of like our mind, body, and soul. The way things work and the way our like we each have a nature, right? And I think, at least for me, when I found her, like it's like our natures just clicked. It's like two different halves of the clock just it clicked into place. And it's like, you know, my teacher, he says soul to soul communication is silence. So whenever we were even sitting with each other, it felt like our energies were like communicating in like a very natural way. So the thing that happened next is very personal. I've not shared it with many people, but that's the reason I'm making this video, so I might as well. We were sitting on the bus. It was probably 9 or 10 at night. It was dark. I was on the window seat. She was in the aisle. And it didn't happen with any premeditation. I had no intentions. I didn't have any goal. I didn't even know I was going to do it the second before I did it. But I just felt like I got on my knees next to her, and I started very slowly and attentively massaging her feet. Like I said, it's very personal. I don't know. But I'm making the video just to share with people, so here I go. And, oh yeah, I forgot. This is actually really important. So, around, I'd say, March or April of that year, I started feeling so close to my spiritual teacher, like so devoted. And only people from an Eastern spiritual tradition can maybe understand this, or someone who's at least tangentially related, like Adyashanti or Mooji. People from a traditional, you know, guru-disciple tradition would maybe get this. It's like, you can feel so much devotion to your spiritual teacher. It's almost like crazy. Like, way more love than you've ever felt for anybody else. And it can be like spiritual and like growth-oriented, but it can also be very personal too. Like, you can want to be around them, you can want to talk like them, you can want to like watch them on the video all the time. You might like the sound of their voice or how they look. or their mannerisms. Like it can be very, very like intimate, or you can even feel their presence in the space around you. And while for a lot of people it can be something that can be maintained from a distance, others really want to be close in the physical realm to their teacher. They might want to just be around them a lot. Actually, I think a lot of people experience that. So I started really wanting to be around my teacher physically a lot. And that's not that possible because he's so busy. He has so many people to attend to that there's no way he can make the time to be around me that much. And I honestly wondered, how am I going to manage this feeling without, you know, how is this practically going to work? This much longing, right? So the girl came into my life and kind of answered that question because I felt the same love for her that I felt for him. It was like I had an ordinary stupid person that I could love and that I could belong to and could belong to me, that I love that much. And I should be careful about that because I think with her, it was never like I own her. It's hard to explain. It's like, how to explain it? I never really had any demands from her particularly, except maybe a couple months ago. But my conscious mind was not trying to own her or command her, but on a soul level, there's a knowing that she is mine, and there's nothing anybody can do to change that. I was never really threatened by in the separation time of her dating anybody else because the way I love her, nobody else really ever could. And it's they're almost a joke in comparison, you know? What could they really do? And if she wants to have that experience, she had never dated anybody or ever, I don't think, even been intimate with anybody before she met me. If she needs to have that experience, then that's okay. And one time when I saw her with another guy at her apartment, I was a little jealous for just a split second. But, it's when you have that much not knowing that it's going to happen someday, then it's the jealousy and also that much love where, like I said, nobody could ever touch you and there's no demands, then other people are suddenly not so threatening. And when there is that much love and you don't want anything, then how do I say this? Then you really give the other person space to be who they are without any judgment. At least that's what I experienced. So, yeah, back to the story. So I'm on the ground on my knees, and it's hard to explain this, but it's I put my whole self into massaging her feet. Every bit of my attention, I took a long time doing it, and I just really my whole being massaged that foot, and her shin, and her calf, and her arm, and each of her fingers, and it really felt not like some girl who I was attracted to, but it really felt like I'm taking care of Mother Divine almost. And it was a really nice experience. Yeah, it was. My teacher, he says that worship is a confluence of reverence and love, because with respect and reverence, you can feel a distance from people sometimes. And love doesn't really allow for any distance, he says. But when real worship happens, then they somehow both come together. Because if you are in love with someone but you don't respect them, and there's a contempt there, and it I don't know, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel very good for either person, I don't think. And when you have respect but not love, it's not beautiful. But it's to have both together is so nice. And I think every twin knows what that's like. It's one place I saw it, it said it's like a devotee's love for God. This how much you love this partner. So yeah, then we got off the bus at the border, and I think the border guy asked us, "Are you guys dating?" And she looked at me and she goes, "Do you want to label it? I don't think we should label it." And I go, "Yeah, sure. Why not? We don't need to label it." Because, again, there's no demand at that point. And so we didn't sleep all night. Got there about 8 or 9 in the morning. Had dollar pizza. And I remember laying down in a park. And I was like horizontal. And she was like vertical. And this was like her stomach. And I lifted my head. And she knew to move under me. Which isn't like too extraordinary. I think most couples can have that level of communication. But it was like throughout the whole thing, we didn't really need to speak that much. Like we spoke, but like it wasn't just we were comfortable in each other's silence, we also understood each other's silence too. And another way I've explained it to people is like and this is my own personal Sanjay theory with having very little experience in relationships, just from observation. In the beginning of a relationship, there's like a bit of a chase. Each one doesn't want to pretend they like the other one to become a little more like desirable. Maybe that happens sometimes, or maybe some couples just are honest and say, "We like you. I like you." Then when you start dating someone, you're a little giddy because, hey, I have someone now, I have someone to like have fun with, and it's all good, and we can spend time together, and it's nice. I feel less lonely. Then you get into it, and it starts to get a little more real. You become accustomed to the other person, maybe not as appreciative of their presence, and then maybe fighting starts. And at some point, maybe even for some people, this may be way in the future, you just become so natural around them, and so yourself around them, that it's almost like they're not there. And we just started off there. But there was also like excitement and passion and freshness too. I once read somewhere that there's like maybe 7, I can't remember how many kinds of love, like friendly love and child love and divine love and romantic love and passion, so many kinds of love. And twins kind of like capture the whole spectrum right in one relationship. And I think that's true. So we're in New York. We catch our culture, a classical music concert, which was boring, honestly. And I don't really remember what happened that day, but around 6, we were in Grand Central, the bus station, and I decided I wanted her to come with me to Atlantic City to meet my parents. And it was Sunday, so she had work the next day. So she wasn't having it. But then, my heart wasn't having her not having it. So I like begged her like a child, "Hey, you have to come with me." And she said, "I can't, I have to work." Because, she's like loyal, conscientious, dutiful, like real straight shooter, I can't skip work kind of person. And I don't know why I did that. I just really wanted her to come for some reason. Like my heart really wanted her to come, and it wasn't having a no for an answer. My conscious mind was like, okay, let's give her freedom. But then this thing overcame me, and I kept begging anyway. But not begging from a needy perspective. Like I had her best intentions at heart too. So it's hard to explain. I've never, again, really been that way with someone where I'm begging, but it's not my little ego mind needs the begging. It's the heart, right? And eventually I had to let her go because what can I do? She has her own free will. But my heart was just crying for it. And she walks, and then she turns around, and she comes with me. So we go to Atlantic City, we meet my parents. They get along just fine. We spend the day there. Atlantic City is actually really nice in my mind for a casino city. And we were staying at probably the nicest hotel there in like a really nice penthouse suite. So I had a really great day. There's like beaches and stuff, I think. Bought some clothes. Just really nice. We have a nice dinner, and as we're winding down, she says, I have to leave tonight. At this point, I'm like, okay, I understand. You have to work. You can't skip 3-4 days of work to, gallivant around Northeast America. So I decide I'm going to go. I can't just be on this romantic trip forever. So the logical mind kicks in. I'm like, okay, let me just spend some time at home with my family, and I'll fly home with them. So I ask her, hey, can you go alone? And she says, okay, sure. Maybe not that friendly, but she says she'll do it. And my stepdad says to me, you can't let her go alone at this hour to Canada. But she's like a strong woman, so she says she'll do it. And I'm kind of dumb at this point. I don't really get what's going on. So we head to the room. Or this may have been before, actually. We're in the room, and I said, hey, let's spend some time with our teacher. So I pop in a video that I bought, and we watched one of his talks. And this was something I really wanted from a romantic relationship, as someone who really got that side of me, and that would never obstruct it, That, because I think the worst thing, there's a teacher named Muji, he says, a life partner can become a life sentence. Because if you have a life, and the Bible says it too, actually. The Bible says that you shouldn't get married because that the wife can come, or the husband can come before God. And I think if you have a partner who impedes your life purpose or your spiritual unfoldment or you just being yourself, then better not to get married until you find someone who won't do those things. And I just knew very early on that she would never get in the way of things that I really felt called to do, like other family or other, mates might do. So we watch the tape, and then later we come back to the room, and I'm kind of like, hey, come sit on the bed next to me, and I tap it, the bed. And she goes, no. And I go, oh, I know what I did. I know what I did now. And I said, okay, I'll come to Philadelphia with you. I'll ride on the train with you. And she says, you don't have to. And I go, but I want to. And she says, you don't have to. And I said, but I want to. And finally, at some point, she agrees. So we head out to the train station. And I'm only going to go with her to Philadelphia. It's almost just, I can't go all the way back to Ottawa because, we're going to fly out the next day. And I'm telling her a story of my ex-girlfriend. And she tells me very sincerely, this is one of her traits too, she's very sincere, which a lot of people, I think, in spirituality tend to lose their sincerity at some point. But she's a very sincere person, and always has been. She tells me, hey, I really like the way you tell stories. Which was remarkable for 2 reasons. First of all, I'm telling her a story about my ex-girlfriend, so she's not really jealous. And second, I've never had anybody tell me I tell stories well. Maybe they thought it, but they didn't tell me. So, I really felt appreciated for who I was without any need to change or pretend in any way. So we get on the train, and we start talking, and she starts to I won't say cry, but cloud up a little, and she's like, I'm so glad you came with me, And yeah, so this brings me to another thing, which I haven't seen too many twin writers write about, is the whole thing feels very scripted. It's like you take the story and script from the best romantic comedy you've ever seen, multiply it by 5 or 10, or honestly, though, some romantic comedies are pretty good, so some of them actually do live up to what it's like. But you would just never believe that it could be that good until you've experienced it. And I should say though that maybe people like other relationships, like soulmate relationships, have been that good. I just never had one, so I don't have any way to know. But yeah, so it just felt like it was like a like in a good conversation, it's like tossing a ball. You toss a ball, and then the other person holds it for a while, and they toss it back. So like there was like an interplay, like a repartee between the two of us, where like it just felt good. It was fun. It was interesting dynamics between just talking to her. So I leave her at Philadelphia. She goes on a bus back to Ottawa, having to call in sick and lie, and show up on, I guess she'd have been at work on Wednesday, 2 days late. And I'm thinking, okay, that was fun, but I have to get back to life. I have this company to start, and I have volunteering to do, and I can't just keep playing around, having fun forever. So I go home, and we do yoga and all that, and blah blah blah. But this is getting really long, so I'm just gonna try to skip to the twin stuff. So we organize a yoga course. I convince a couple friends to do one in DC. I go with them there, and I decide that, yeah, I'll just try to keep it short. I decide in DC that I want to go see this girl again. So I spontaneously take a bus. I take a city bus to her workplace, and I catch her walking out on the street. She's a little surprised, and maybe not in the best way, but partially in a good way. And she, walks with me to the place where she's staying. We, do very normal things. We go buy some groceries for the people that live there to make up to them that I've been there. And then on Friday, we decide to, this was Thursday when I got there. On Friday, we decide to head down to the retreat center again, stopping in Montreal, because there's a video there that I wanted to show her. 2 videos, actually. It's somebody's birthday in Montreal on the way between, and this is where it begins to come undone a little. She's like not really pleased because when I'm in my nature, at least then, I was like very much childlike, almost like a little kid, happy, go lucky, and all that. And she's like 5 years older than I am, so she didn't really like that much. And she told me that. I was like, okay, well, that's who I am, so whatever. So she actually had a place in Montreal because that's where she went to college. And we spent some time there. We spent the night there, and I slept on a separate bed, of course. But we kissed a little, and it was nice. We woke up around 10 the next morning, and she looks at me and she goes, hey, do you really want to go? Maybe thinking that we could just, maybe kiss some more or go eat out or something. But I tell her, no, we're going. Because like, as people say, the union is a very spiritual thing. And I wouldn't even say I had any intention. That's what I wanted. I wanted to go show that video to her. And the video's really getting long, I'm sorry. One thing I remember with her was going on a bus or a train with her was always really, really nice. There was something about it that was great. So, like I said, I'm just going to skip to the important stuff. We go to the retreat center, have a great time. The video is beautiful, very devotional, and she likes it. And, we end up traveling 4 hours to spend only 2 or 3 hours there, but it was worth it. We got back, and maybe I'll make a part 2. Yeah, I'll do that.